Hey guys, Jules here for WhatCulture.com with another episode of the most insane things happening in wrestling this week. The show that does exactly what it says in the tin in the most annoying way possible. You are welcome. Now, this week has been chock full of insane segments. Raw received a massive shake-up, new NXT members were added to the main roster, and Daniel Bryan might have cut the promo of the year. Yet which is going to win the most insane thing of the week award? Well, let's crack on and hit that intro. So, as I discussed last week, the Ruby Riott and Natalya match at TLC was likely going to feature another gross misuse of Jim Neidhart's death for cheap pops, and I was bloody right, but it gave us actually something so bloody morbidly hilarious, I had to include it on this show. Now, to begin with, credit to Natalya, who managed to go against what many were worried she'd do, and that was that she'd just cry and wail and moan hysterically like she'd done in the build-up to this match. I'm not trying to sound callous about this. Losing your parents must be one of the toughest things I can possibly imagine going through. However, the way that it's been presented so far made Natalya go from being beyond sympathetic and just being, well, pathetic. It looked for a while that Ruby would continue her torment of Natty after she set up a table and screamed, "I want you to look at him, Natty! He's ashamed of you, Natty!" I mean, to be fair, he'd only likely be ashamed of the fact that he's been put on a table. But you know what, I'll bite, and so did Natty, and she finally snapped and turned the tables, so to speak, on her tormentor. Which gave us this, the most comically tragic moment, in which she forced Riott to look at her dad as she delivered a sharpshooter. A f***ing sharpshooter. She didn't even do her dead dad's move. And I'm very aware that the Hart family exists, but come on, using that move that pushed Brett up the ranks and away from Jim and Owen? I honestly couldn't believe what I just witnessed. And then she planted Ruby through a table with her image on it while dressed in her dad's old jacket. If she'd worn a fake goatee wig, it couldn't have looked any dafter. Thank you, Vince. Seriously, you might be a bloody old mean-spited bastard sometimes, but this farce, it was kind of morbid. It was kind of hilarious. Okay, let's talk about the NXT Call Ups, which are going to be making their way to the main roster soon. It is a great idea to keep things fresh in wrestling, and new talent is a great way to do it. It gives us new opportunities for feuds, new team-ups, and the potential for dream matches. However, this year has not been too kind to some of the NXT gems that have received the rub. Case in point, Andrade Cien Almas. His appearance on Smackdown this week only highlighted how little he's been used. If he doesn't have a chance of doing well, then what the hell do the chances that these guys have? Well, Michael Sidgwick lovingly gave us his hot take right here, so let's get utterly cynical. And remember, it's just a bit of fun, and also not my words. Nikki Cross, she likes to play, which is fortunate because she'll be getting plenty of time to spend on the Switch when she's asked to arrive at and not appear on television like the rest of her sanity stablemates. Off to a good start, Stitch. Here we go. EC3 occupies the top 1% of the pro wrestling world, but there's two more numbers that it will have to get used to. 50-50. By what? March? Is that too cynical? Too optimistic? Lars Sullivan, a man who is built like a brick privy but just as green as what Matt Riddle smokes, and it's hard not to scratch your head when the likes of Ricochet are kept back in developmental while he's given the go-ahead. Although again, he is massive and old habits, as Vince would put it, die Lars. Big man Otis will pop Vince with his worm for about 3 weeks or so, but after which Vince will take a look at him and be like, "Oh God, what's that bloody lump on him? Oh, it's a tag team partner. Get out of my sight, God damn it." Oh, Jesus Christ, how does that guy speak? And finally, we have Lacey Evans, who is still way too early to push. Now, I really enjoy her gimmick and her moveset, but her confidence is still really not there. And we have to look at her and think, now what could Vince possibly see in her that might get her the rocket up the arse of a push that she's getting? Sorry, did somebody say tall and blonde? No, surely not. That gasp. Now, you know what? Maybe it won't be so bad. We're going to obviously have to wait and see, and it is just a bit of a joke we're having after all. But the idea of chucking a ton of new faces on the product to mask not actually developing half of those already on it seems like a bloody insane thing to me. So, as you can tell from the previous entry, Raw and SmackDown were in need of a bit of a shake-up, and that's exactly what Vince McMahon did, appearing on both shows to lead the charge the only way he knew how, by kind of ushering in something that has the potential to be even worse than before, but let me break it down. Okay, so first off, they pinned all the blame on Baron Corbin. Fine, if that's what they need to do to get the scapegoat out of the situation, then you know what, I can buy into that. It's incredibly weird that the fans are so quick to accept this situation, seeing as it's actually Vince and company that are actually to blame for this, but you know what, I'm just gonna let it slide. Whatever, moving on. So he's out of the picture in a very Spirit Squad in a Box style send-off, and the entire GM heel role that everyone is sick of is gone, and in its place we got 4 more of the same nature. I'm sorry, what? They also booted Paige off of SmackDown. You know, the show that actually a lot of people like at the moment? Just because, f*** you, it's the Vince McMahon era. Actually, it's not even the Vince McMahon era, is it? It's the personal accountability era, thanks to Shane McMahon's weird backhanded approach. Do you guys remember that? He was like, we're all gonna make this together, yeah? And everyone's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's like, we're all gonna work as a team, yeah, yeah, yeah. We're all gonna hold ourselves personally accountable, so if you f*** up, that's on you, not me. Yeah? Shame, you cheeky whippet. I see what you're doing. But the question is, how are more chefs going to fix the broth when you've already pissed in it? You know what, fine. Let's move on a bit further and talk about these new authority figures and what they promised. They promised change. They promised completely revamped shows that will embrace new stars and fix the problems of the old. They promised to listen. So did they listen? Well, we got another Bobby Lashley versus Alliance segment, which did nothing to further either men and was completely silly. And Dean Ambrose in a match that was only slightly more intense than his one at TLC against a man he's not even in a feud with. However, we have to give credit where credit is due, because Natalya won, you know, an entertaining #1 contenders match, the gauntlet match that she was in, and the Revival won a tag contenders match as well. So things could be looking up. We could be looking at new faces. We could be looking at change, right? We could see the ratings climb higher and higher, right? You can see where I'm going with this, right? Because my next point is, they filmed the next Raw straight after the first one, and it is back to the status quo. Yes, spoiler alerts ahead, but any promise of change was wiped off the face of the earth, because the following happened on next week's Raw. They did this, you know, just because everyone's going off for Christmas. Elias defeated Bobby Lashley in a Miracle on 34th Street fight, which Lio Rush opened up a parcel that contained Lego and then was bathed in eggnog for the finish. So that's another dead segment in a dead feud that no one wants, that does nothing. Good start. Here we go. The Revival lost their Raw Tag Team title match, and Natalya lost her Raw Women's title match, which means for fans in attendance, they managed to gain and lose their spotlight in a matter of hours. Obviously, no one expected a title change on a banter show like this, but it raises the question, why bother putting them into that position just to swap them away again? Why even bother insisting you're going to instate change before a show in which you never ever literally change anything anyway because there's a Christmas match? Why bother doing it? And to round off the night, we got Seth Rollins versus Baron Corbin. They headlined the least watched Monday Night Raw ever on December the 10th. This was so disastrous that Corbin was demoted on screen. And so, of course, they booked it to headline this show again. I tell you what, they're geniuses. They're geniuses. And then finally, Paul Heyman had antlers and a red nose put on him. Oh, the humanity. Oh, my Lord. We are spinning closer to the grave. I'm going to hop right in. It is absolutely bananas that they would promise such change before such a silly show. And I bet you anything that we'll see another dip in ratings as a result. So Raw being a bore, ratings through the floor, watching it is a chore when it only gives you more. Hey, that's all right. Are you having a giraffe?
Hey!
Christmas! Merry Christmas, mate.
Merry Christmas to you.
We managed to make it through 2018 in such style and finesse. It's only right that we reward each other with gifts. It is Christmas after all, so Merry Christmas to you, my man. Hope you enjoy it.
Beautifully wrapped.
You know, I had about 5 minutes.
Oh, you got me your own t-shirt.
Well, I mean, to be honest, once you get your own line, we can flog that too. Anyway, yeah, you got anything for me?
Thanks, man.
No worries, man. It was literally the least I could do.
Here you go.
Oh,
Merry Christmas.
Okay, interesting. What we got here? It is also my own T-shirt.
I thought you could do
And
with
it
a spare.
reeks of gasoline. Why does it reek of gasoline?
Here it is.
This has been an absolute bust. Look at Solomon Miller. He's got some decent presents.
He got 2 iMacs.
Why did you buy him one? I told you I was getting him the first one.
Well, he deserves it. He works really hard.
Yeah, he does actually. He's more over than we are, to be honest. Anyway, Merry Christmas. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you in 2019.
Jingles.
Yeah, it does. Weird, isn't it?
But you know what? Thank Christ the WWE has a shining star at the top of its tree, as on the blue brand, Daniel Bryan might have cut the best promo of the year. At TLC, D. Bryce spoke from an area that felt so different to other heel characters, as, in all honesty, it didn't feel scripted. Bryan launched into his tirade by raging against the ills of social media and how it renders everything shallow and just a simulation of idealized non-reality, before intensifying his words with an anti-capitalist, eco-friendly drive that, while we all know makes him a heel because of the way he delivered it, was so on point that it was quite shocking. Bryan then did something incredibly strange. He put over his opponent's skill as opposed to burying him. This, believe it or not, is a truly fresh move in a company that works on this dynamic of, if you are my opponent, I must hate everything about you. But what he did after was the best thing ever, because just as we were about to pop, he then compared us to plant-killing pigs. That is fantastic heel work, and it is insane that this once immaculate babyface has now taken full flight as this heel vegan warrior. It is a thing of true beauty, and it wins my final Insane Thing of the Week award for this year. And that does remind me, actually, yes, this is the last show of this year as Phil and I are away because we're having our Christmas, so we're going to actually put up an episode of all of the giraffe segments put together. I have explained it in the segment before, but just in case anyone skipped it. So I'm not telling you that you need to watch it. It is something that's incredibly silly and just for the die-hard fans of the show. So if you tune in next week and you're there and you're getting ragey about it, just remember, I gave you fair warning, and it is just meant to be a bit of fun. I feel like I'm having to defend my position. Just a dude in a giraffe suit. It's f***ing stupid. And there we go. Those were the most insane things happening in wrestling this week. I hope you enjoyed the show, but I'm going to close it out the only way I know how, by reading my favourite comments from last week's episode. And we start with a poem from Liam Bethnal, who says, "The most insane things in wrestling with Jules is the best thing. Whilst having a giraffe, he doesn't half make me laugh. So with Jules at the helm, we want to keep, as his content goes deep. Like your mum with her fist, there you are, Jules. That can be your one per list." The rhyme scheme was a bit off, but I appreciate it anyway. Chris LeCrone says, "A birthday shout out from Jules would make me have a giraffe. Winky face, BTW, it's December the 23rd. Happy birthday to you, my man." Eric Franklin says, "Jules, give a huge shout out to me. E-Bone. Love the one per list." E-Bone. I hope you don't go by that. There's a guy in the office who tries to get his nickname off the ground as the shotgun wound. Put that right in the cellar, didn't we? Jesus Christ. Nevin Ariana says, "Hey Jules, it's my roommate's 23rd birthday next week and he's bolder than goddamn Andy. Any tips to make his life more bearable?" Hats. Hats for my man or woman. Yeah, hats. It's the best. Glorified says, "Damn, my birthday is today on the 14th and I missed a shout out." No, you didn't. Swerve. Vince Russo, bro. I got you. But there we go. Massive thank you to you for writing in. Anyone who's watching, I hope that you have a fantastic Christmas. Huge Xmas love to Michael Sidgwick and Phil Chambers for their continued work on this show. To you at home, thank you so much. It's been a great year. And let's make 2019 an even better one. As always, I've been Jules. You've been awesome. Go follow me at RetroJ with a 0 over on Twitter. And I'll speak to you next year. Bye! Ba ba da ba da ba 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 da out of here. Ba 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 ba.